Welcome to Ethanol Producer Magazine's top headlines from the past week. I'm your host, Jacob Noterman. Before we get started, we'd like to thank today's sponsor, Ethanol Producer Magazine's upcoming webinar titled Dryers Down to the Details. Sponsored by Player Design and taking place Thursday, December 14th at 2 p.m., the webinar will showcase technology developers and their processes, including how they differ from the status quo and what benefits each can bring to an ethanol plant. Webinar attendees will also hear from an ethanol plant general manager about what producers want and expect out of their dryers. To register for the webinar, visit ethanolproducer.com. The U.S. ethanol industry has set a new production record. The industry produced a record-setting 1.1 million barrels per day the week ending December 1st, overcoming the previous record of 1.07 million barrels per day that was set 2 weeks earlier during the week ending November 17th. Data published by the U.S. Energy Information Administration shows the U.S. ethanol industry has set new records for weekly ethanol production 5 times this year, including 3 new records that were set in January. U.S. EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt appeared to the House Subcommittee on Energy and Commerce on December 7th to provide testimony on the agency's mission. The renewable fuel standard was among the topics discussed at the hearing. During the event, Pruitt spoke about the need to finalize annual RFS rulemakings by the November 30th statutory deadline. He also said the agency has tried to focus its efforts on objective criteria such as production levels and/or demand when setting annual volume obligations. In addition, he indicated the statutory framework of the RFS is challenging to implement and stressed that he believes reform is needed in the RIN market. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has asked the EPA to waive a portion of the RFS blending requirements. On December 1st, he issued a letter to Pruitt claiming the program is negatively impacting the Texas economy and employment. The letter asks the EPA to set the annual volume obligation for conventional biofuels at no more than 9.7% of the gasoline pool. The Renewable Fuels Association has spoken out against Abbott's waiver request, with President and CEO Bob Dineen stressing that it doesn't come close to meeting the very high threshold required in statute to provide severe harm. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more of the ethanol industry's top stories.